Out of Left Field is brought to you in part by Coordinated Health Hazleton Campus. Better together.
Hi everyone, I'm Cara, and we kick off this episode of Out of Left Field with a political story. Wait, don't run away, it's not what you think. You know, it's one thing for a mayor to show up to his or her community's signature event, take a picture, shake a few hands, and leave. It's another thing for him or her to get strapped into a car with a roll cage and race up a winding hill. Enjoy. After his test run up the hill with some of the other novice drivers, Weatherly Mayor Tom Connors wanted to stay strapped in his car. This was his first time racing, and it was a chore just to get buckled up. However, he wasn't lonely while waiting for his first official run. He had visitors like Joe Seibert, his friend, Weatherly councilman, and president of the Weatherly Hill Climb Association.
We had a few last-minute repairs on his car, but it's ready to go, so he's all excited. You know, he's a novice, so he's a little nervous, but you know, a couple runs up the hill will be okay. He'll settle down, and so he'll have a good time. And I noticed he's got a lot of family here to see him, and the other drivers are rooting for him. You know, they think it's pretty cool that you're the mayor of a town and you support your group like this, you know, wanting to drive and be involved. So I think it's special.
There were 102 drivers at this edition of the Weatherly Hill Climb, so there was going to be a bit of a wait to see the first mayor in borough history tackle the hill. The mayor himself was more than just a little bit nervous. He was even thinking about backing out before the event. Think about being in line for a new roller coaster. You might feel excited and terrified at the same time as you wait in line and hear screams off in the distance. It's good to have great company while you are waiting to do something that makes you a little nervous. Connors also had his wife Michelle to keep him company.
Well, when he said he wanted to do it, he bought a car without my knowledge. And on Christmas Eve, I found out that I bought him the car. That was okay. And then we started getting the stuff together. He's excited, he's scared, but it's something he wants to do just to bring more attention to the hill climb. It's a great event because of all they sponsor my Relay for Life team. So I'm behind the hill climb 100% anyway.
Your wife told me she found out like Christmas Eve that a car was purchased.
Yeah, I told her a little late. I bought it first, and then I told her, and a friend of mine helped me get it, and it was like pay me off, and if I didn't take the opportunity, I would have lost it. So I bought it, and then I went home and I broke the news a little while later because a few people knew, and I was afraid she'd hear it that way. So I just asked her, you know, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I said, how long I've been sober, honey? She said, 20 years. I said, that's good. She said, yeah. I said, well, I got to tell you something. I bought a race car, and she's all good with it, so I love her. It's nice.
The Connors family seems to always be doing something for the community. After Tom's sister was diagnosed with cancer, Michelle got involved with the Greater Hazleton Relay for Life. Her team from Weatherly is now one of the biggest and most active.
You both seem when you believe in something, you will do whatever it takes for that cause.
You have to. Someone has to do it. You know, you can't have someone else plan on someone else doing it because it doesn't get done. If you want something done, you have to do it yourself. So you have to be involved.
You and your wife are so involved in everything. It seems like you really need each other's support for everything you do.
Oh, absolutely. That's the only way it works. We have 7 children. I love them all. We're a close family, and that's what it's all about. So I'm just happy to live in a great community.
Connors was also surrounded by his kids as he got ready to tackle the hill. His son Tommy is a mechanic and his main man in the pits, but he's far from the only one who helped the Pit Power racing team get moving.
It is a very expensive sport. I mean, you buy a helmet, it's $200. Luckily, somebody gave me a uniform, so we pieced it all together. But you can make it happen if you want to. You know, I understand this is probably Father's Day gift and next Christmas, but I love them and I'm happy to be part of it.
For the last couple months, we've all been doing a little bit here and there for him, you know. So it's nice. I mean, that's the way it is with these drivers. If somebody needs something, they jump in and help them, you know. If you could take a part off my car, or if I got a part home in my garage and you break here, they run to get the part and try to help you. We race for trophies, not money, so that's the difference here. And when you do the hill climbing like we do, it's competition, but it's real. It's competitive, real competitive, but you don't have the disagreements. When you get money involved, it changes, you know?
It's just a constant reminder how great a community it is. And this group here, the race drivers, no matter where they're from, they always come back. I feel like they're family. They know me. I've been here, so it's just a great place to live and a great place to be. So it's a good weekend.
Connors had a lot of help with his car and with swatting some of the butterflies in his stomach, but ultimately it was up to him to get up the hill. In the back of his mind, he knew he was doing this for a good cause.
I named my team Pit Power Race Team after the pit bull breed. I mean, I'm involved with dogs. I run the county animal shelter. I love the breed, the pit bulls, but I'm hoping to bring awareness and hopefully soon raise money so we can get these dogs spayed and neutered. That's the right thing to do, so that's what I'm really hoping to do.
The Weatherly Hill Climb starts at 1,180 feet and finishes at 1,520 feet. There's 3 turns, and if you average around 51 miles per hour, you will get up the 1 mile hill in about 1 minute and 10 seconds.
It's a roller coaster hill ride, only you're going up this thing, and those drivers love it. It's one of the most technical hill climbs in all of the country.
Mayor Connors hits 35 miles per hour in his first run. It takes him 151 seconds to get to the finish.
Yeah, that was my first time ever. It was pretty crazy. It's a wild ride up there, you know. I give these drivers a lot of respect when they put some speed into that. That hill is nuts.
When you say you almost backed out, was it nerves? Was it the car parts? Was it both?
Yeah, it was a little bit of car parts and a lot of nerves. I'm not a racer, you know what I mean? I haven't had a speeding ticket in 20-something years, but yeah, it's nerve-wracking. So I'm glad I did it. You know, and going slow in the beginning and being safe is what it's about. My family supports me, my wife, I love them, and I'm glad they're letting me do it.
On Sunday, in his final run, Connors cuts his time down to just over 97 seconds.
I want to talk about 2 of your quotes. One, you said, "I don't know much about cars" earlier this week, but I look good in the racing suit. I mean, how you're feeling?
Yeah, there you go. Fact of the matter is, I'm not a mechanic. I never race cars. I'm just a guy that just wanted to give it a shot. So it's all new to me, and if I can do it, anybody can do it, and that's the key, you know?
Connors didn't break any records, but he did get a trophy from his wife. It has a turtle on it, and it reads Fastest Mayor, Weatherly Hill Climb. Love won't fill your actual gas tank, but it will help you get up any hills or mountains you face in your life. Coming up next, we take you out to the ball game, not at a stadium, but at Eckley Miners Village, and not in 2017, but in 1864. Out of Left Field is brought to you in part by Coordinated Health Hazelton Campus. Better together.
Welcome back to Out of Left Field. Long before pitchers were throwing above 100 miles per hour and players were getting paid over $4 million a year on average, and you were paying around $7 for a domestic beer at the ballpark, baseball was a much different game. If you enjoy craft beer like me, get out your credit card. But back to the game of baseball.
We're about to find out what a baseball game was like back in 1864 when Yuengling was producing beer for 35 years. It's crazy how long they've been around. Oh yes, enough about the beer. Here's a story on baseball. According to Fangraphs.com, between 90 and 120 baseballs are used in a major league game. In this game, they will try to use only one. If it gets lost, they will search at length to find it. These teams go to great lengths to make sure their vintage baseball games are as historically accurate as possible. And if that means looking for a ball for 20 or 30 minutes, so be it.
A lot of research. One of the things that I really like to do, I'm a history and an education major. So even though I was a software manager for 30 years, but my real love is history, and one of my real loves is research. So when I was starting to research this team, we were actually looking for a uniform that fit the period. Now, the team at Flemington, the Shannock, that I found that played actually in 1865 and 1866, we do not have a record of their uniforms. So what I did is I took a uniform that might have been used right about that time.
Even the water jug is made to look like it's from the time period.
This time period, remember, is around where it's around when the Civil War is starting. It's also when the game is in its infancy. The game is just starting to get popular around the 1850s, early 1860s. So, you know, this is when the rules are changing the most. This is when there's awareness of the game the most. And this is when I think the rules are the most interesting. Whereas, you know, we're playing 1864 where you're able to catch the ball on one bounce for an out.
There couldn't have been many luxuries inside Eckley Miners Village in the 1850s. The men spent a lot of time underground, in the dark, braving the conditions and looking for coal. Coal is made of carbon. Diamonds are also made of carbon that was exposed to intense pressure and heat. Coal miners faced a lot of pressure in their lives, and they probably needed somewhere to relieve it. Some looked to a diamond.
The same thing happened for coal miners as did in the Civil War. Remember, what are the Civil War people doing? They're fighting most of the time, but they have a lot of downtime. Well, what are they doing in their downtime? They're playing baseball. What are coal miners doing in their downtime? They're playing baseball.
But Eckley actually had 3 baseball teams in the 1880s, 1890s. But the Reds were the ones that were the oldest. And there's a field across the way that's called the Reds ball field. But we played here on a field, and the field is more like what they played in the 1860s. They played out in the field. They really didn't have ballparks or anything like that at that time. So there's no stands. There's no place for people to sit. People have to bring chairs or sit on the ground. Pretty much like it was at that time.
You may look at this video and say, oh yeah, that's baseball, but there are some moments from this game between the Flemington Neshannock and the Keystone Baseball Club of Harrisburg that will have you scratching your head and wondering what's going on. The rules of the game were a little bit different in the mid-1860s.
You should just pick up on some of the nuances of the game from modern game. Like I said, you can catch the ball with on one hop for an out anywhere on the field, 3 balls and 3 strikes, no foul balls. The pitcher pitches underhand from 45 feet. And you know, just some of the little nuances. I mean, the best thing is like there's no routine play in this game because there's no gloves. The lucky thing is you can catch it on a hop and recover, but it's just a lot of fun and it's just gentlemanly, good time around the game of baseball.
Be warned, if you do have the opportunity to catch a ball in the air and you wait for a bounce, Bradley Shaw, also known as Brooklyn, will encourage the crowd to chant unmanly at you.
Catch it on one bounce, everybody here yells out unmanly. That is an unmanly thing to do. You don't let the ball bounce when you can catch it on a fly.
Along with the rules, the actual ball was much different back in the day as well.
It's a little bit bigger than the modern baseball. It's not as tightly wound because they couldn't, you know, there was no way to mass produce them back then, and they were all handmade. So you're going to get some inconsistency between baseballs.
Let's go even further back in time to find out how the game of baseball came about.
Well, there was a nationalistic feeling around 1900, and they were trying to prove that baseball had nothing to do with the English game of rounders. Nothing to do with it at all. It said baseball is strictly a modern American invention. So what Albert Spaulding did was he basically concocted a story with Abner Doubleday in 1846 to make sure that it was an American general who was a hero at Gettysburg that was the one who invented the game. The only problem is that Doubleday, who was a prolific writer, never mentioned baseball at all. He was not in Cooperstown in 1846. In 1839, when he invented the game, he was in West Point. And the story was just to please all the people that thought that baseball was an American creation. But really, Abner Doubleday had nothing to do with baseball. Baseball was not invented. Baseball evolved. And I think the expression was that Chadwick said back then was that baseball had no mother and no father, it just grew.
So how did we get from the Eckley Reds and the Flemington Neshannock to the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox?
Basically, baseball became so popular that every little team wanted a good baseball team. And in order to get a good baseball team, you need good baseball players, and they unfortunately don't always reside in your town. So what you would do is you would recruit from other towns, and you'd say, come to this town, we'll give you some kind of phony baloney job in the government, but your real job is to be playing baseball. And that's basically how the game got to where it is, because what they're doing is, in fact, they're making the game professional.
These guys aren't getting paid to play. They're volunteering their time at Eckley's Patchtown Days. While this is an educational and fun experience, the teams are playing to win. Many of the players used to play by the more modern rules in high school and college, like Doug Pendergast, also known as Pops.
I always thought, yeah, I'd love to play in the majors or whatever, but I never thought that, being almost a 50-year-old, I'd be, playing 1860s barehanded baseball. But it's awesome. It's fun.
I feel we should do one unmanly chant before we end this segment. So, unmanly, unmanly. Maybe heckling is America's real pastime. Anyway, these men, all of them, make history come to life and remind us that for over 100 years, all we've wanted to do was get outside and play ball.
Hold your horses, there's more Out of Left Field. After this break, we're heading to the Harness Horse Youth Foundation camp.
Out of Left Field is brought to you in part by Coordinated Health Hazelton Campus. Better together.
When I stopped by the Harness Horse Youth Foundation camp at the Downs at Mohegun Sun Pocono, there was a bit of a delay with the kids getting out on the horses. It was only the second day of camp and the kids were quiet as the adults talked and came up with games to play to pass some of the time. As soon as they were able to head back to the stables, everything changed.
The Downs at Mohegun Sun Pocono has some big-time racing and big-time purses, and you'll feel the excitement if you stop by on a race night. However, if you visit the stables, there's a bit of a different vibe. Joe Antonelli is a trainer who came to the Downs in 1990.
I mean, I don't have as many as I used to, but I had a fairly large stable when I first came here, and the track has definitely grown and improved over those years. I mean, Pocono Downs is really it's a special place because not only is it a place where we race top horses, it still has a grassroots feel, that I like.
Ellen Taylor is the executive director of the Harness Horse Youth Foundation.
The ambiance at Pocono does have a family background, but that's true with all racetracks, really. There's a core group that, hey, I knew your grandfather or your cousin or your wife by your fifth marriage. We are a big family, and the more that we can include new members to that family, the better off we'll be.
Those roots run deep at the Harness Horse Youth Foundation camp held at the Downs. It's a fun and educational week for the kids, and for the trainers, drivers, and instructors, it's a reminder of how and why they fell in love with the sport of harness racing in the first place.
I'm fourth generation in the business.
Okay.
So my great-grandfather had horses, my grandfather and my father.
All right.
And my mother was one of the first licensed drivers in the country. So I really hardly know anything else but harness racing.
Why is it so special to your family?
Love of the horse. And that's what at least I bring to the Harness Horse Youth Foundation is, yes, I love kids and yes, I love horses, so why not combine the two?
These kids have a week to learn all they can about the sport of harness racing before they get their chance to drive in an exhibition race at the Downs at Mohegun Sun Pocono. But that doesn't mean they spend all of their time with the driving lines in their hands.
Each day is one word. First day is safety, obviously, basic horsemanship, good care. The second day is equipment because harness horses wear a variety of equipment, and it's oftentimes Greek to most people. So we try to cover that. The third day is care, and we kind of talk about whether you feel good when you brush your hair and teeth every day. Well, how does a horse feel if you don't brush it off or if you don't take care of its feet and legs? The fourth day, is driving because that's the day we get to gate school and practice behind the gate. And the fifth day is success because you can have monetary success, but that's not what we're in it for. We're in it for a sense of satisfaction. So each day we build on those topics. Every activity is somehow related, although it may be subtle. For instance, on the day of care, we hang a sheet with an outline of a horse and we learn about anatomy.
When the kids are driving, they have help from experienced drivers like Eddie Sager.
Okay, you ready? All right, here we go. She looks like a little feisty one here, so you just make her mind you and she'll be good. There, she's going really nice now. She's okay. She just doesn't look like she wants to stand too much, huh?
She doesn't want to stay.
No, she wants to get going. Just always keep your hands, you know, snug on her, and so she don't go too fast. And
How fast are we going to be going in the race?
oh, faster than this. They put a smile on my face. I really like going with them. It's really interesting, and I like the way when I talk to them, they're all excited about what's going on.
They want to learn.
They want to learn, yeah. That's the first thing. I told them, you know, you gotta like it, and they do, and you gotta stick with it though. If you're gonna be in it, you gotta be dedicated to it. Just like an athlete, you know.
Just like Little League or like
yeah.
football, maybe
you gotta stick with it because you just can't learn it overnight. And they're done pretty good for only a couple days. They went out there the second day. Now they've done pretty darn good.
You seem nervous. I know they're familiar with horses.
I know.
I was racing this weekend.
I've had kids come out there and get on, and they were, you know, they're real nervous about what, you know, they don't want to do wrong or something. But every one of these have they just can't wait to do it. They're really excited. So I'm glad for them.
Here's the pitch Antonelli gives the drivers when he tries to get them to volunteer their time for the camp.
I know it's probably competitive when the drivers are usually out there. Is it nice for them to have the kids, you know, sitting shotgun or something, maybe for a lap or two, or they get?
I don't know if this is a good way of putting it, but I say, hey guys, this is a chance to be human for a few minutes, you know, and you know, dial it down a little bit, and you know, be a kid, you know, for a few minutes, you know.
The camp really does sell itself. Antonelli points out that just like in the movies, kids and animals steal the show. However, everyone, the campers and the instructors, seem to agree that the horses are the main draw.
Why do you like horses so much?
So you're at school and like a bad time, you can just go horses and it gets off your mind a lot of things, and it's, I don't know, it's just they make you happy and everything, brighten up your day.
Yeah, I just enjoyed to see the horses, you know, this is the whole point of this, and it's very interesting. Horses, they have had a long time connection with us for a very, very long time, so I think that's very nice.
Here's what Taylor wants the kids to take away from the camp.
The purpose of the Harness Horse Youth Foundation is to let people who don't have experience or a family in the industry get their feet wet if they like it. I'm looking to build fans.
Yeah.
And I think coming to a camp, you have a much better appreciation for harness racing, whether you decide you're going to be in it or just come to the races, or no matter what. But that being said, this industry needs new blood. We need to grow the industry. What better way than reaching out to 14-year-old kids to do that?
Time will pass, and some or all of these kids will yearn for that feeling they had at camp. Maybe they'll volunteer to help the next generation fall in love with the sport of harness racing and horses, and be rewarded with a few moments of feeling like a kid again.
Now, as far as pleasant, just sentimental memories, I was given my first horse when I was 6 years old, and it was an orphan foal. And I can remember sitting in front of her stall just talking to her on the day of the races and hanging out with her. But the whole package of the bond with the horse, and I can see certain kids this week developing a bond, even if it's just for a few days. They'll never forget that part of camp.
Thanks to the Harness Horse Youth Foundation, the sports family tree gains more branches every summer, and the roots stay as strong as ever.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for this episode, I reckon. No one talked like that at the camp, by the way. I don't know why I just did. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy, everyone.